Today's lesson is actually a continuation of yesterday's lesson, which was the 8-bar blues in E. Now, I mentioned in the 8-bar blues in E that there is something called a turnaround in the last 2 bars. And indeed, in a 12-bar blues, the last 2 bars are the turnaround. The function of the turnaround is to take the listener back to the beginning of the tune. Hey up! And when that happens, it feels very, very natural. To me, the turnaround, it almost feels like sometimes you see these old things with the trains back in the day where the train used to reach the end of the line, and the only way that they could turn the train around is they had it on like a turntable, and it would turn it around. And that is essentially what the turnaround does. It takes you back to the beginning of the good afternoon, everyone. It takes you back to the beginning of the chord progression. So if it's an 8-bar blues, it takes you back all the way back so that everything repeats. So the thing is that there's a lot of turnarounds out there, but there is this kind of consistent way that a turnaround looks. And you might come across things like this. So this is in E. This is to carry on, like I say, from that 8-bar blues. And you can swap this out. Yesterday's 8-bar blues, it went E7 to A7, E7 to B7. And that B7 is really important because that's chord 5. And that wants to resolve back to chord 1. Because if you listen to this, this is a cadence, yeah? Cadence means to fall. Yeah, so if I take this B7, you can hear that sounds finished. But if we finish the chord progression on that 5, it feels as if we need to go back to the beginning, and that's indeed what it does. So essentially, what the turnaround does is it does the same job. Now, you might have heard stuff like this. That kind of idea there. Now, it might seem as if I'm just using one string pretty randomly there. And what's happening is you've got something beautiful called voice leading. I talk a lot about voice leading. But the secret anatomy of this is that essentially there is a D7 shape underneath all of it. I can play that like this. I can play it as in this pattern here. These are 6. I could play them as full-on 7th chords. I could play them in a kind of almost Muddy Waters style with just using part of the chord. Hopefully this makes sense. You can hear that what you had was like 4 different textures, essentially. Now to lead back, what I do is I play 0, 1, 2 on the A string. That puts me on that B7 chord. And that's beautiful because it walks up to the root note of the chord, and then basically you just stack the fingers of that B7 chord on there. And that leads you back to the chord 1 again. So essentially, taking this idea, and you can see if I take that down there, there's the E. What I do is I turn an E minor and I hammer that major third on there, because look, that's what's going on there. But this portion of the chord here, which is the 1st fret of the G string, an open B string and an open E string, you can hear that there. Now, if I just quickly shift this to another key, hopefully you'll have heard this before in other songs. This is this D7 shape. And you can see that I end up with this little bar here, because this is really an A chord. It's just a partial version of it, starting on the third of the chord. So really it's a first inversion, but we're not thinking about that because I don't think that the blues guys thought about inversions or any of that nonsense. So the thing is, you can use this here to kind of zhuzh up and fancify those those 8-bar blues, any blues in E with this, but this will translate into other keys. You're in the key of G, then this will translate here. Yeah, so there you can see that's how I would get to a G, and it's exactly the same turnaround idea. Worth noting, I often talk about how chords move the same as your notes. If you don't know the notes on your alphabet, you need to learn that. There is a video on my channel that says learn the E string first. If you learn that in your musical alphabet, and you know that E and F and B and C are next door to each other, then you can work this out, you know, and think of things in sharps or flats. It's up to you. But the thing that I want to show here is that this is a D7. Now that pattern that I played it chromatically. There's a D7. This is an E flat 7. I'm thinking of it as that. And there is an E7. Well, if you remember, if we're in a blues in E, what we're essentially doing is we're going from an E back to an E. So everything that is in between is kind of aimed at getting back to that same sound again. But this, obviously, this sounds bluesy. Now you can split this up as how you see fit. It's completely up to you how you want to express yourself ultimately at the end of the day. But this chromatic, that is the core of the blues turnaround in E. Especially if that is the big finish. So if I was coming to the end of the song and you wanted to you can hear that sort of big finish ending on the E. So this ends up leading you all the way back to the E. Excuse me. A short lesson, guys. Hopefully you will find that one useful. I will keep on adding more bits and bobs onto this blues in E as well. Just some little things to make it more exciting. Okay, guys. I will see you in the next video. Okay, take care.